Good evening. Welcome to tonight's live stream. I am going to get started in a moment. I just need to let everyone know the stream is currently on the air. Okay. Salute, Based Fox. Good evening, Nightingale Wednesday Nightmare. I am just going to get into tonight's topic, and tonight's topic is based on a video I did on Monday from a video a viewer requested, which talked about society's obsession with single men. Now, when it comes to single men, society has an obsession with single men because when it comes to single men have the most power in society and they have the most options out of all men. Now, in God's order, He made man to be the head, and this is one of the core reasons why society has an obsession with the single man, because the single man is in a place where he can be a leader, and as he looks to take charge of himself, he can go out here and look to pursue his goals in life. Now, the young single man is the one with the most power in society because if he can get control over himself, he can basically go out and actualize his potential and go for his dreams. This is something that I realized when I was very young, when I was about 14, 15 years old. And I had aspirations to be a comic book writer. Now, back then, I wanted to go out here and go for my dreams. And that was the first time I ran into the resistance that single men run into. Because when you're a single man, there's an obsession in society to get a guy paired up with a girl. But the whole thing is that if you get paired up with that girl, what that can do is impede your ability to be able to go out here and go for your dreams. And that was something I understood back when I was a teenager. I understood that when I was a teenager, if I wanted to go for my dreams, it was the best time to do it was when I was young, because when you are young and single, you basically are not the only person you have obligation to is God and yourself. And with you only having obligations to God and yourself, you can go out here and work towards the goals that you set for yourself. And as you're putting yourself first, you can go out here and look to work towards those goals without having to deal with any sort of interference. That's one of the benefits of being a single man. You have all of this time to go out here and go for what you want. And that's something many in society don't want you to do, and they don't want you to go out here and go for your dreams because what they want to do is tie you down with a bunch of obligations. And this starts as early as a boy is a teenager, where he's got guys telling him he needs a girlfriend, when in actuality, he's in a place where he doesn't need to get a girl. No, he needs to get on board with work, putting himself first and working towards his goals. And again, that's all part of society's obsession with a single man. They don't really like the idea of a single man being able to be in a place where he has all of these options to be able to choose his direction that he wants to go in his life, and the option to be able to pursue whatever goals he wants to achieve. This is something many in society resent as related to a young single man. They resent the fact that the young single man has those options for himself and he can go out here and make those choices for himself. That's what they resent, and that's why they want to just keep throwing obstacles in front of the single man, trying to tell him what he should do and where he should go. But the single man has the ability to sit down and be able to, again, take a direction and course in his life. And that's something people don't like. And that's why they're obsessed with the single man, because the single man has the most freedom. Rock Fresh has stated, and it is true, he has the most freedom out of anyone in society, because he is out here as a man in a place where he can go out here and start laying foundations to build whatever future he wants. So they're obsessed with the single man, and society is obsessed with the single man because as the head of himself, and again, he's not tied down to any woman. He's not tied down to anything at all. He's in a place where the world is an opportunity for him. So the single man is somebody people want to make choices for. And one of the things they want to do with the single man is keep him from having the ability to make choice. That is one of the things society does not want a single man to do, is have the ability to make choices, because if he has the ability to make choices, he has more power than other men. And the thing that scares a lot of people is when a man becomes aware of his power. That is the thing that scares a lot of people. It scares it when you have a man who can say, I have power over myself and I have power to go out here and make choices. That's what scares a lot of the wealthy. That's what scares a lot in government. And it really definitely scares a lot of beta males and women. It scares them that when you have a man who is aware of his ability to be able to make his own choices and is aware of the power that he has as a single man and the options that he has, this is what scares these people, because they cannot dictate to that man that he needs to go in a direction they want him to go into. They cannot go out here and bully him into going into things that they want him to go into, and they can't shame that man into submitting to going into a series of relationships on other people's terms. No, this man who is single and is aware of self and aware of his options, this is a man that they cannot go out here and coerce into taking bad deals. No, that man is out here understanding that if he wants to achieve what he wants, he's like, look, I'm not going to waste my time dealing with what other people want. They're going to go for what they want. That's what upsets a lot of people about single men. It upsets them that the single man can go out here and make decisions for himself, and that single man can say, hey, I don't need to settle for somebody else's substandard. I'm going to go for something based on my own standard. And that's what society really hates. It really hates the idea of the single man having that ability to say, look, I can go out here and choose whatever I want. I don't have to go out here and settle for somebody else's. No, I can go for what I want, because the single man has no real attachment to anyone, no real obligation to anyone, no real commitment to anyone, and is not really committed or obligated to anyone because they have not agreed to any of the terms as related to traditional society. So that's what really scares a lot of people about the single man. They're scared of single men because single men can just get up and walk away from the table at any time. The single man can just get up and walk away from the table because they don't feel any sort of commitment at all to anyone. I mean, how many single men feel an obligation to someone? They don't really have obligations at all, because outside of maybe if they have a job and they're paying their bills, that's the only obligations they have. And again, that man can just basically, if he decides that things aren't working out for him any day, he can just get up and go find another job someplace else, find another place someplace else, and move on. And that's what really scares a lot of people, the power these men have, because they have freedom to move how they please. And that's what really obsesses a lot of people to be upset about single men, because single men cannot be controlled or dictated to, because these men were basically made to be heads in God's natural order. These men were made to be leaders in God's natural order. And as stewards, they can go to places where they feel like their obligations and responsibilities will be respected and appreciated. And they don't really have to sit there and foster codependent relationships with people. No, they can insist on interdependent terms. And on interdependent terms, a man who is single can say that if I'm not getting anything tangible out of the deal, then he can walk away from the deal. And that's why society really is upset about single men, and they're obsessed with this whole need to control single men. That is one of the things that is a major problem in our society. As Gabriel has pointed out, the gynocentric society, what they want to do is control the single man. That is the goal that they have, is that they want to get control over the single man. However, there's no way for them to get control over the single man, because if the single man is not in a relationship, if the single man is not married to anyone, if the single man is not loyal to a corporation, then there's no way to tie the single man down. And if you can't tie the single man down, you cannot get leverage of power over the single man the way you can get leverage of power over a single woman. And that's why our society walked away from looking to invest in single men back in the days of the 1960s. They walked away from the single man because many in business and government and the media thought that the woman would be somebody they could go out here and get control over. And as they got control over the woman, they could basically get her to be a consumer they could attach an emotional hose to and foster a codependent relationship with. Because with the single woman is insecure. And because the single woman is insecure, she's somebody that these corporations and businesses can play on her fears and doubts, because the woman is a natural follower. And because the woman is a natural follower, they can go out here and get her to buy into narratives. And as they get her to buy into narratives, they can go out here and turn her into a consumer. And as she's chasing this carrot, looking to be perfect as related to the ever-changing standards of Madison Avenue and Hollywood, they can get control over the woman, but they can't do that with the single man. And with the single man, if you invest in the single man, he is focused on building. He is focused on production. Yes, you can give a single man a job, but eventually that single man is going to be looking to get his own economic power by taking the tools that he has and looking to take the tools that he has learned over the years. And eventually what that man is want to do is, after he develops his skills for a couple of years, he's looking to build his own business. And as he looks to build his own business, what he's looking to do is go out here and create wealth for himself. That is what single men go out here and do, because when you're young, you want to go out here and achieve things when you're younger, and you want to work towards actualizing your potential. That's what a single man wants to do. A single man is like, hey, once I get this job and I start saving up some money, he wants to start looking to, as he's paying bills, looking to build a wealth base. And that wealth base will include the property like his home, property like wealth building assets, and he'll be looking to build up himself. And again, as he's looking to build up himself, he's looking to make things produce for him. And most of those people in Hollywood, Madison Avenue, and corporate America, they don't like the single man because the single man represents something that they really hate, and that's competition. Because when you have single men out here, they are not just working for a company, they are working for themselves. And as they are working for themselves, they are going to take the money that they have and look to invest it in themselves. I mean, that's what I did years ago when I had that job at the library in 2008. I was saving up my money to start the SJS Direct imprint. I mean, that was the one of the goals that I had as a single man with no children and no girlfriend. I had a goal to start working on getting the manuscripts that I had sitting in a box and on hard drives. I wanted to work towards getting those books published. I mean, I wanted to do that because as a single man, I understood that I only had a limited amount of time to go out here and achieve my dreams. And I had to focus on that in the time that I had in my early days of being young. That's what a single man is like focused on if his head is on straight. If a single man's head is straight, he's like, look, I got to go out here and get this stuff done because if I get older, I'm not going to be able to get it done. And if I get a woman and some kids, all the things that he wants to do, that's not going to get done at all. And that's the thing that many in society want to impede a single man from doing. So they want to take a single man straight off his purpose because they understand that if they take that man off his purpose, they can go out here and make it where they are benefiting from his resources. And that's the thing that another thing that they use to impede the single man is to be able to distract that man from his purpose so that they can go out here and get the benefits from it. Because when it comes to our society, even though it is gynocentric and revolves around women, most of the resources that are provided are by men. And the way that many women get their resources and other people get their resources is from men who are single, because the only way to get a man into a relationship is if he's single. And again, this is why they have a fixation on the single man, because if you can get to the single man when he is not really focused on his purpose or his direction as related to where he wants to go in life, you can create a distraction or a diversion that keeps that single man from being able to achieve anything but be able to provide for you. But the whole thing is, as that man is basically providing resources, he's taking away resources from his dreams and his goals. And again, this is another reason why society is obsessed with the single man, because the single man has the most options and he has the most power in society. Again, the single man is the one who has the most power in society. Again, the power that the single man has is that he has no obligations to anyone. The single man has no commitment to anyone outside of whoever he wants to have a commitment to. And the single man is in a place where he can go out here and make decisions for himself because he has all of this freedom. And that's why society is obsessed with the single man, because the single man can go out here and do things that other men just can't do. Now, when it comes to the married man is not in the same place as the single man. No, the married man basically has no options because the married man basically has obligations such as his wife and his children, which are the priority. And the other obligation of the married man is that he has obligations to be able to take care of that family by meeting its needs. he has to provide a home for his wife and his children. He has to provide for his children's school, and he has to provide for his wife's care. And he also has responsibilities as related to all of the bills. So when it comes to the married man, he cannot just up and leave because he needs his job in order to maintain his obligations. The married man needs to be able to keep his job going. So he has to go out here and he has to tolerate abuse from people at the job. He has to tolerate abuse from people in his home, like his wife, if she's an abusive person. And he has to tolerate children. I mean, his whole life is filled with a lot of tolerance because he basically loves all of those people. He loves them and he wants the best for them, but he has obligations to those people. Whereas a single man is not in the same space. I mean, if it's a single man, again, a single man can go out here and he's in a place where, yes, he's working the same job. He has the same experience at that job. But the whole thing is, since he has no real obligations, he may own a home in that area, but he's in a place because he's by himself. What he can do is basically, if he gets a better offer, he can go and start putting in the work to sell that home and take that equity with him and move to another area if he gets another offer. And he's in a place where he can basically just up and leave. And if an employer starts to get abusive with him, he can start focusing on a job search and basically make a deal to use his leverage of being able to leave to go to a competitor to get a better offer. That's something the single man can do that the married man can't do. And that's why companies used to like married men, because they could attach emotional hoses to married men. But with a single man, you couldn't get in that man's face and start making threats, because that man could basically say at any time he could walk away from you, and he could walk away from a toxic job situation and find one that would better suit him. Now, when it came to relationships and the single man was in a much better place, and he was in a much better place in the beginning, because as a young single man, he could assess the behavior of women and see what woman's behavior would be suited for him as related to a relationship. And that would be the thing that would lead to him deciding if he wanted to get involved with a woman, if he decided to get involved with anyone at all. Because when it came to the single man, he didn't have to, he could go out here and to look at all of the options and look for the woman who would present him with the most important things like values and character. He could not be bullied or goaded into a relationship. No, when it came to the single man who knew his purpose and understood his worth, you could not bully this man to be forced into a relationship, and you couldn't bully him to be forced into a relationship, because when it came to the single man who knew what his options were, he understood that as he was on his purpose, he did not have to settle for who his peers told him to get involved with. No, because he was a single man and he was working on his purpose, he could go out here and deal with women who were having a common interest in what he had. And the single man could go out here and make a choice of who he wanted to get involved with based on his terms, not based on the terms of the peer group. And this is the thing that upsets a lot of single women and a lot of simp beta males. And it upsets the beta males because this man is direct competition, and he's direct competition to them that basically has more power and more options, because he understands his value as a man. And because he understands his value as a man, he can say no to toxic women and women who don't meet his standard. Whereas the beta male will sit there, and just because a woman pays him attention, he's ready to have a relationship. But the single man who is understanding his value and his purpose and understands his leadership role as a man, he can go out and listen to women and assess women's behavior This guy has the power to walk away from deals that he feels do not meet his terms. And that's why society is obsessed with the single man as related to beta males, because they can't stand the idea of this man having the ability to openly compete against them and openly bring things to the table. Because with the single man, he brings a lot to the table, more than the simp or the beta male. The beta male and the simp may bring attachments with them, but when it comes to the single man who's aware of himself, he brings confidence, he brings leadership, and that's what makes him attractive. That and his ability to stay on his purpose, that's what makes him attractive to women of character who want to follow his lead. And that's why women are obsessed with the single man, because a single man who is aware of himself, a single man who is aware of his purpose, a single man who can focus on his direction. This is a man that women find attractive. And again, women of character would want to get with that man, because that single man is focused on purpose, focused on building. And that's the kind of guy that society does not want in large numbers. Because if you've got a man focused on large numbers as related to building wealth and focused on developing himself and actualizing his potential by looking to not just work at a job, but build a business, this creates a society where the wealth starts to shift from these small groups of people to the overall masses. And that's why the society overall, again, as related to government and big business, has an obsession with trying to stifle the single man, because the single man is a threat to the wealth base. The single man who knows about his role in God's order, the single man who knows about being a leader, these men are a direct threat to God's order, and not God's order, but the order of corporate America and big business in Madison Avenue and Hollywood. They're no threat to God's order because those men do the work of God's order. These men are basically, they are men that are ready to compete, men who are ready to build. And our society doesn't want those men around, because many in the elite want to be in power, and they want to maintain their power base. They want to be in their power base where they can control the society. These rich men, basically, they know that if there's a lot of young, attractive men who are on their purpose, their sons can't compete against those men. So what they want to do is stifle all of the single men. What they want to do is silence all of the single men. What they want to do is suppress all the single men, because they want their men to appear to be the ultimate assets, even though these men are not in a place where they can be assets. No, these guys basically, they have been coddled and spoiled to the point where they basically are in a place where they just cannot go out here and have that purpose or that vision. And that's another reason why they have an obsession with the single man, because the single man is a competitor to all of those older men who already have their fortunes, and he's a competitor to their sons, because those sons cannot really compete against a guy who has that passion, drive, and ambition. Because when you have a single man and he's out here, a lot of these rich guys, they get upset about seeing a single man, because they want to be able to come to the places like the social marketplace and the business marketplace. They want to come to the social and business marketplace and have it easy. They want to be able to walk into the business and social marketplaces and just be able to make an easy deal in business, make an easy deal as related to getting with the so-called finest women. They want to be able to have no challengers. But when you have a group of single men who are on their purpose, when you have a group of single men who are on their purpose, these guys cannot just sit there and rest on their laurels. And that's why there's an obsession to try to go out here and neutralize all of our young single men in society. They don't want to see those young single men coming out to compete, because when you've got guys who are focused and on direction, there's no old boy networks or backdoor deals because everybody's got to focus and compete. And these guys just cannot go out here and just have and believe that they can just show up and stuff just happens for them. No, when there's young single men, there's real serious competition. And that's something that many in the wealthy do not like. They don't like the idea of there being a bunch of young single guys who are out here, got their stuff together, going out here, taking their money and working towards doing things like starting businesses, working on things like getting their wealth assets together, because it makes it where they have to actually start competing for resources instead of just getting them handed to them. And having to go out here and compete for resources is something that many of the wealthy aren't used to. No, they're used to getting stuff given to them, and they're used to finding ways to make money by going out here and manipulating groups like women. They love to manipulate women into being consumers because a consumer is giving them money and making them rich. Whereas if you have a group of young single men, what you've got are a group of builders, and those builders are looking to create competition. And again, competition is a good thing in a society because competition means that people have to step up and improve their game. I mean, when you've got young single men and they're out here competing, that basically makes it where people have to step up their game. It means that they have to step up and bring their best to the table. It means that you just cannot sit here and rest on your laurels and be comfortable, because young men are naturally competitive. And again, the way they compete isn't going out here and fighting against each other. No, young men compete by bringing their best to the table and and continuing to strive to aspire for excellence. That's what young single men are all about. I mean, young single men, again, they have all of their physical strength. Their mind is at almost 100%. So they are in a place, again, where they are working towards actualizing their potential. But our society doesn't want to see those men actualize their potential because they, again, fear competition. They fear not being able to get their needs met. They fear that these men will not be able to go out here and sign into dysfunctional covert contracts, because when it comes to a single man, he's not looking to buy into deals from predators like covert contracts, where they ask you to do something under the table but never tell you what it is, and the person is sitting there trying to guess what it is. No, with a single man who is young, it's an interdependent relationship. It's a straight line, and it's a straight line where he is saying, this is exactly what I want to do. This is exactly what I want to achieve. This is exactly what I want to accomplish. And I'm looking to achieve a tangible result. That is what the young single man is all about. And again, society doesn't want the single man to achieve his goals in a lot of cases, because if he achieves his goals, that means he's going to have even more power than he had. And again, he's already starting out with power because he has the power of choice. And if he achieves his goal, he gets even more power. So that's another reason why our society is obsessed with single men, because he's, again, in a place where he can not only start out with power, but he can go out here and take even more power, because as he has no obligations to anyone, he has power to be able to, again, acquire more power, because he's not married. He doesn't have any children. He doesn't, in some cases, if he doesn't have any debt, he's even stronger than that, because while he starts out powerful because he's single with no kids and no wife. And what makes him even more powerful is if he has no debt. I mean, a lot of guys who are single don't understand the power of being debt-free, because being debt-free means that, again, no obligations outside of possibly whatever credit card bills you have and whatever lease you have on an apartment. And once that comes up, you're basically done. So again, this guy has tremendous economic power, but the economic power he has is very different than a woman. A woman's economic doesn't really have much economic power because she's more focused on consumption. But with a man, and he's single, he has economic power to build wealth. And that's another, again, reason why people don't like the single man, especially those who are a part of the wealthy, is that he has the power to build wealth. And he has because the single man has the power to build wealth. He is somebody who has, again, great economic power as related to his credit, as related to his finances. A single man out here, if he has no debt and he has good credit, I mean, he's in a very good place. And this is something that people don't like about the single man, is that the single man, he can go out here, and if his money is straight, again, he's in a place where he can just go wherever he pleases because he has the money. I mean, single men whose money is straight, they can go into a car dealership and pick up a used car and pay straight cash and have no debt obligation. That's one of the things that they have. And another thing with the single man who is, again, debt free, he can go into any place and just go buy whatever he wants and call it a day. I mean, he has a place where you cannot tie him down with credit the way they try to tie women down with credit. Because a lot of times what they do with women is they try to tie you down with a bunch of credit. But when it comes to men, men are focused on their money. And if their money is straight, they are like, look, I'm just going to come in and pay for this straight and call it a day. They're not going to be getting on this thing about pay a little here or pay a little there. It's, look, how much is that right now? And when you have that ability to ask how much, that is, again, that's tremendous economic power, because if you can sit and ask for the price, then you're going to be, and you have the money, you can just walk away from the table. And that's something that a lot of people don't like about the single man, is his ability to go, look, I'm just going to buy what I need, because as a man who is focused on production, he's focused on spending his money differently. And that's one of the reasons why a man's dollar has a different value than a female dollar. I mean, a man's dollar has a different value because when men spend money, especially single men, they spend money as a way to invest. And again, they go out here and they're spending money primarily on investment. So that means a lot of companies can't make money off the single man. And that's why they want to keep the single man oppressed, because the single man, when he goes out to buy something, his focus is on investment. Like, for example, if I'm wearing this shirt, and this is what they call a Charles Turwitz shirt, I go to buy this shirt because I want to look good on the live stream. So the shirt is an investment. And while I've got the shirt on, yes, it's a shirt in my shirt collection, but the whole thing is I'm wearing the shirt because I want to make a good first impression on my viewers in the live stream. So when a man buys clothes, he buys clothes for investment, whereas when women buy clothes, it's for consumption. And it's usually because they are in their emotions and they want to sate those emotions as related to their feelings of inadequacy and insecurity. So that's why companies like focusing on women, but do not want to focus on the single man, because when it comes to the single man will consistently buy the same thing because, again, he's buying for investment, and he buys consistently because he has a certain distinct look. And again, this is why the single man usually has money in his pocket, because for him, money is about business. Money is about investment, and he's looking to get a payoff for his investment. That is what a man is looking for. And again, single men are looking to maximize their investments in their youth so that they can have a whole base of wealth. A single man usually starts out, if he's smart, in his 20s. He's starting to look to build a platform of wealth, and he's looking to keep building that wealth over a period of time so that he will have a wealth base so that he can be able to take care of himself in retirement and also continue maintaining investments. That's what a single man is about. And when the single man has built a strong enough base, to go out here and be able to take care of himself, that's when he starts to think about focusing on building a family. Because usually when it comes to single men are in a place where they can again exercise their options and look to, as they're working on their craft, working on building wealth bases, and they can work towards a place where they can establish themselves. And once they get established, that's when they start to make the plans to find a wife and then go and build a family. And again, this is another reason why women are obsessed with single men, because as the single man is working towards building himself up, she's seeing that this man is somebody who is financially secure, mentally secure, emotionally secure, and in a place where he's ready to be a leader and has taken the lead over his own life. And as the single man has taken the lead over his own life, that's when women of character start checking for that man. And again, they become obsessed with that man because they want to have a husband who can take care of them and that provide for them. They want a husband who can be a leader. And that's why they're obsessed with the single man, because they know that they get most of their resources from single men. They know that they get most of their financial resources from a single man. And that's why they go out here looking for single men who are on their way up and coming when they're young. I mean, this is where smart women go out looking for a husband. They don't go out here saying, I want a good man. No, they are focused on a husband. They are focused on having a relationship with a man with the goal of marriage, because they want a husband, because husband is a person who has a established esteem title in God's order. Husband is someone who will take on those obligations as related to responsibilities once he's established. That's what they want as related to that relationship. And husband is someone who will love and care about them because he really loves himself and loved himself enough to put himself first towards working towards his goals when he was single. And again, that's why they're obsessed with single men, because again, women know that they get their needs met by men, and they want to get a single man who has his stuff together. And again, the single man basically is the whole foundation of societies in God's order. The single man is the foundation of everything, because the single man is the one who has to work towards building himself up. That takes time. And again, you want to get in on the ground floor. A lot of women want to get in on the ground floor with a single man. And again, they're obsessed with the single man because they know at the end of the day, if you get a single man, you can work towards marriage. Whereas with a married man, all you can work towards is being a side piece. And if you work towards being a side piece, you're basically going to be on a lower position in the relationship, because side piece is just somebody who's disposable, like the forever girlfriend. Forever girlfriends, or I talked about them about last week. And again, the forever girlfriend is in a place where she's basically going to go nowhere because that man has options to leave. And again, the single man, again, is the guy with the most options. And that's why society some loathe the single man and others are desperate to get with him. But the single man has to be made aware of this when he is a boy. Now, when a boy is young, he needs to become aware of his place as a single man. And that's what happens. What's happening, sadly, is a lot of boys don't know this because they don't have relationships with fathers and they don't understand their role as a man. And that's why you have a lot of guys out here talking about they want to get a girlfriend when they're teenagers, not understanding the power that they have. I mean, when you're a guy who's 15, 16, maybe 17, 18 years old, I mean, you're in a great place if you have no girlfriend and you're just out here going to school and going to work. I mean, you're in a very great place because you're in a place where you're young, you have your health, you have your strength, you have your passion, and you're in a place where you can just go for your dreams. And that's something I suggest to all young brothers and young guys out here. That's a place where, again, you have the most freedom. I mean, when you're a young single guy, you're in a place where you need to be focused on your purpose and focused on what you want to do in life. Don't let guys try to peer pressure you into relationships, because at that point, you really need to go out here and focus on developing yourself. I mean, this is a time where you, as a man, need to focus on where you want to go in life, because while society is obsessed with trying to suppress you, you are in a place where you can actualize your potential. I mean, you're in a place as a single man where you're not in any situation where if you're having any woman on your arm, you don't have any kids, and in some cases you have no debt at all. And if you can go out here and move your life ahead, you can go out here and be in a place where you can get enough money to save up to get a down payment on a house. And in some cases, you can go out here and pull a finesse for cars. Like you can go to the auto auction and go get you a car for real cheap, or you can go out here and turn that into a business of flipping cars. I mean, you're in a place where you have the freedom to go achieve whatever skills you want. I mean, I went out here and I learned PC repair in addition to learning how to write novels and screenplays. And I just sat there and I learned a lot of different things. I just didn't sit there and let myself be limited, because, again, society loves to limit the single man. They love to put the single man in a box. They love to restrict the single man. I mean, you even have some companies that be like trying to shame you, trying to say, oh, you're not married. And again, they want to say that you're not married because what they want to do is shame you into marriage so that they can attach an emotional hose to you to foster a codependent relationship where they can get leverage over you and then have it where you're basically running and jumping to try to keep this job. Whereas a single man, yes, he can want to keep that job, but he's keeping that job because in some cases he wants to build up his savings. But as he's keeping that job, he's working on a plan to get a better job for himself. He's working on getting experience for himself. And as he's putting himself first, he can go out here and entertain other offers, and he can leave a toxic situation. That is the kind of power that single men have that others don't. Now, some people want to say the single woman has that power, but no, she really doesn't, because women are emotional, and women get emotional attachments to businesses. Women get emotional attachments to things, and they also are consumers. And as consumers, what they do is they go out and they just go out here, and because they're insecure, they go out here and medicate themselves with debt and as related to buying food and clothes, whereas guys don't medicate themselves that way. They navigate, and if they're healthy, they navigate through their emotions and they work towards improving their situation. They don't really settle in jobs, and that's what they do, and they wind up settling for stuff. And again, that's why a lot of women are dissatisfied in jobs, because they don't have the same power, and the companies know this. The companies know that women form emotional attachments because for them, working is social, whereas for men, working is survival. And again, this is why they have an obsession with keeping single men out of the job market. Excuse me. And this is why we have 6 million men who are out of work, like myself, at companies. I mean, a lot of single men have to go out here and start their own stuff because companies won't hire the single man, because the single man, again, is the guy who has the most options. And that scares a lot of people in corporate America. It scares a lot of people in corporate America because the single man, basically, he can just bounce at any time, and he can bounce at any time because he is looking not only for a paycheck, he's looking to achieve his goals, and he's also looking to get his respect. Those are the three things that most men want from a job. They want to, one, achieve those personal and professional goals and get work experience. Two, they want to go out here and get paid and go out here and have capital for whatever ventures they want to pursue. And three, they want the intangible of respect. Those are the three things that men want. And single men want this more than anything because, again, a single man, especially if he's young and hungry and competitive, He's wanting to do those things, but our society is obsessed with keeping single men out of the society because, again, you have wealthy people who want to maintain their status quo, and they want to maintain their status quo because they are just spoiled on being able to take whatever assets they can have. They want to be able to get the best women. They want to be able to get the highest value properties. And they basically have turned our society into a fiefdom. They want to have a fiefdom, but the whole thing is when you've got single men, they are going to get hungry. They are competitive. And eventually they are going to push back because, again, you can't have a functioning society without single men. And again, if you want to build a strong society, you have to invest in your young single men because your young single men, these are the guys who are young, they're hungry, they've got a lot of talent, and they are teachable. This is another thing that comes with single men and that makes them an asset is that they are very teachable. And when you have a young single man, he is basically looking to learn. That was something I wanted to do in my 20s, but I was denied by many of these companies back then. But young guys, basically, when they're single, these guys, this is how they become craftspeople. They become craftspeople because these guys are young and hungry. And this is something that they're ready to do. I mean, if you can get a young guy who's single, again, he's going to be focused on purpose. And that's what single men are about, who have their head on straight. But our society is obsessed with suppressing our single men. Our society is obsessed with suppressing our single men and denying them the ability because a lot of the females, they're in positions of power and they don't want to have to deal with actual competition. A lot of the older men, especially the baby boomers, they don't want to deal with competition. And a lot of these older corporate bosses, again, they don't want to be challenged by those men. So they look to stifle those men and basically bury them in society. They look to bury those men. And that's why we have issues in our country with things like the country not really being able to grow. I mean, they are obsessed with crushing single men, but single men are somebody you want to invest in because single men are assets. And again, if you develop single men and you teach single men, they can grow up to become the next leaders in a society. And that's why people, again, before the feminist movement, wanted to invest in a single man. But you got a group that wanted to keep their money and their wealth. They wanted to keep their base, not understanding that this is going to turn over. I mean, it's going to turn over because that's the way life works. Nobody's going to stay forever, but you have to invest in the next man. I mean, that's something I've always believed in. You always have to develop the next generation of men, and you have to start when they're young. I mean, the young single man, again, he has an open mind. He's hungry for knowledge. I mean, when you deal with the young man is somebody you want to develop and actually help him work towards actualizing his potential because young single men, I mean, these are the guys who are going to be the future. But many of people in our today's society, I mean, ever since I was a guy in my late teens and 20s, you can't get no support because people want to stay in power for too long. And again, obsessed with keeping single men down. But the whole thing is if you keep single men down, your society is going to go and decline. And that's the whole problem with today's society. They don't understand that the time to develop a single man is right now. They're sitting there thinking, oh, we can create this girl power, but we've seen for every dollar you spend on a woman, they spend $1,000 more. Whereas if you spend money on a young single man, you're going to get a return on investment. And that's the saddest part, is that these people obsessed with suppressing single men don't really see the wealth that can be built. I mean, when it comes to the young single man, I mean, he is a wealth base. I mean, he is an economic asset. And again, single men, our society is obsessed on both sides. But the whole thing is a single man is that people are obsessed on both sides because the single man is again, a person who, when you look at his base, he has the most power in society. He has the most options in society. I mean, single men can choose who they want to get involved with as related to relationships. They can choose where they want to go as related to their careers. They can choose where they want to live if their money is straight. I mean, the single man in our society has great power. And that's why when men are get older, they want to stay single these days because they realize that they have a lot more choices and they don't have to settle for being obligated to a lot of choices. That's why you see so many single men these days because they don't really see benefits to these to institutions that God has established, like marriage, because the state hijacked marriage and took it away from God as related to this world. I mean, they created their own institution of marriage. And because we have this man made institution, men don't see that option as single men. They see it as safer to stay single, which is really sad. And that's why we have these population declines that go against what God has stated as related to being fruitful and multiplying. We have it where men don't want to get married because, again, as a single man, he basically would be tethered to many of these feminists, not women. And again, with these feminists, they are so hypergamous that they want to go out here and monkey branch too from man to man, draining a man's assets. And that's why so many men are staying single, because they don't see an option with marriage, because they see the state looking to just go and take their money and give it to women. And these same women are miserable and they're just drowning in debt, even though they get money from three sources. Some of them get paychecks, child support, and money from friends and family, and not to mention all the simps out there who give them free dinners and free drinks. And again, the single man looks at this and goes, this is a situation that is a big loser for him, because the whole thing is relationships and marriage these days, again, they are, as related to the state, a nightmare. But God's institution of marriage was never meant to be this. No, God's institution of marriage was based on love, and it was based on love. But feminists, with their fear, basically have destroyed the institution of state-sponsored marriage, and that has created a nightmare for people, and it's led to this obsession with trying to go after single men and looking to now try to, in some cases, looking to go after single men's rights. I mean, I think that that's one of the things that's coming. I mean, Sandman has talked about it, because they see that the single man is looking to preserve his power, because the single man can, again, he can just choose to not play any games as related to the corporate world. He can choose not to play any games with women anymore. He can just walk away from everything. And a lot more single men are walking away because they just see that the game is a loser. And again, that's what got society obsessed with trying to go after single men, because many of the single men, they just don't see a winning game. They don't see a winning hand. And they want to get men to get back into that situation. But those men see that Pookie, Ray Ray, Chad, and Tyrone have a lot of the women. And so they say, look, it's not worth my time. If I'm trying to build as related to society and get my life in order, I don't have time to deal with a toxic whole relationship situation. And again, single men are like, nah, you can go out here and you can have all of the women. I'm just going to go out here and build and work on my own stuff, work on my goals and my purpose. That's what the smart single men are doing. And again, society's obsessed with those men because they want to get involved with those men. But those men are choosing to walk away from society. And again, they walk away because they see nothing on the table. And the first thing that the single man is looking for is respect. And if he doesn't see respect on the table, he basically has no incentive to get involved. And again, with him having the most options, the single man can walk away from situations, and he can walk away from situations that he finds to be quite toxic, because if his head is in the right place, he'll just say, look, I don't need to be in a toxic situation, and I don't need to sit here and take abuse. No, a single man can sit there and say, look, I'm going to go where I can get the most respect, and I can get something that meets my standards and achieve and accomplish based on the standards he sets. And that's why we see a lot of single men focusing on their entrepreneurial goals these days and looking to focus on the things they want to achieve, because a lot of these guys understand that there's only one life to live. They've only got a little bit of time in this world, and they've got to make every minute and second of that life count. So that's why you see a lot of single men looking to, again, stay to themselves and focus on themselves, because when it comes to single men, they know that, again, the opportunities to move yourself up are rare. So they've got to go out here and focus on that. But the whole thing is, a lot of people don't like the idea of the single man having those options. And you even have people in your home, when you're a single man who has all the options, who get jealous of you. You'll have guys who in your family who are baby daddies who are upset with you because you don't have any kids. You'll have a lot of other family members who are upset with you because they are in jobs that they don't like, and they look at you and all of the options you have, and they start to get jealous of you, because, again, the single man having the most options and the most choices, I mean, he can go out here and choose to focus on whatever he wants, and he can choose to go out here and choose whatever career he's good at, and just start working right there. And he's just like, look, I'm just working here. I'm going to learn how to master skills and develop skills, and I'm going to work on building my money up on the side and eventually getting myself together. That's what single men do. And again, single men, as we exercise our options, this is what makes a lot of people, again, in family jealous, makes people on the job jealous, because there are guys on the job who get jealous of single men. I mean, I've run into that many times, because when you're a single guy and you're just on your purpose, it makes a lot of dudes mad, because they basically are in a place where they're not happy with their lives. They are in a place where they are miserable, and you'll have people in the family and on the job who are mad at you, people in the street who are mad at you. I mean, they're mad because you're in a place where you don't have to live by somebody else's standard. Again, you're living by God's standard and the standards you establish. And because you're living by those standards, these people just are getting upset because they see you making power moves and making moves. And Callis makes a very good point. He says a woman can never be independent. That's why they hate single men. And that's very true. I mean, a woman can never be independent because God made her to be interdependent. As a helpmeet, he made her to submit to the man, whereas the man has real independence because he's obligated to God and Jesus. Those are who he's obligated to serve. But the woman cannot go out here and be obligated because she's under a man. And again, they hate the idea of the man being able to, again, have those options to be able to go and do as he pleases. I mean, a man can go out here, and if he's in his teen years, he can focus on getting his diploma. And then after he gets his diploma, he has options to go to trade school, to cooking school, to college, to go out and even learn things on his own. I mean, those are all of the options a single man has. And again, the single man can go out here and do all of this. If he has his head on, he can just say, look, I want to go out here and do something with my life. And he can go out here, set a course for that purpose. And the young single man, again, that man from 18 to about 30 years old, I mean, he's in the best place of his life. These are his, again, prime years as related to his health. And we're not even, that's just as related to his early health, because once he gets into his 40s, that's really considered to be his prime, where he's a master of his craft. Then again, that man, as he is single, again, he has abilities to take a critical look at all of the world and the social marketplace, and he can go out here and assess the options that he wants to choose. I mean, this is what the single man can do. I mean, when he looks at the job market and he looks at the social marketplace, he can choose where he wants to go. I mean, He's not in a place where he has to settle for anything. And he doesn't have to make somebody substandard his standard. He doesn't have to accept mediocrity as his thing. He doesn't have to go out here and settle for somebody else's leftovers. No, he can go out here and start fresh. That's why people hate single men. I mean, they hate single men because single men don't have to settle for anything. They can go out here and as they're starting fresh, they can go out here and demand the very best. I mean, that's the way it is for the single man. Again, the single man has more options than anyone, and he can sit there and, as a single man, again, demand better for himself and work towards better for himself. And that's why society doesn't like single men, because single men are not going to take the scraps, the leftovers, the garbage. They're not going to settle for less. No, these guys are working for excellence and they want their very best. That's what the single man wants. And again, nobody wants to invest in the single man because they don't want to give him more power, because they know if the single man has power, he has one great power, and that is the power to say no to things. And a lot of bosses, they love their simps, they love their beta males, because the beta male and the simp are so scared. I mean, the simp, basically, he's just there looking to chase the women at the job, and he's disposable because they'll fire him with a sexual harassment charge. And the beta male basically is a fraidy cat who just wants to go along to get along. I mean, the beta male doesn't know how to say no, whereas the single man who knows his purpose, he's going to say no to things as related to the job that aren't going to benefit him. He's not going to be out here licking boots and begging people. No, he's going to be leading because it's all about where he wants to go. And again, that's why corporate America hates the single man, because the single man is not somebody they can dictate to like they can a woman or a simp or a beta male. They can dictate to those people, but a single man can say no. And again, a single man can say no, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. I mean, yeah, you can fire a single man, but he's not fazed because usually the single man got something else lined up or he's got a plan for where he wants to go. I mean, you can't tie the single man down. The only way that the single man can be obligated to anything is if he does it on his terms. And that's another reason why society doesn't like single men, because single men are not tied down to anybody's terms but God's and their own. And the single man can sit there and says, okay, if this deal isn't benefiting me and ain't bringing nothing to my table, then I'm not going to take that deal. I mean, it's not like the simp who basically will just take any deal. And they love socially engineering simps because simps will take any deal. They'll just take a deal and say yes to anything. Same thing with this beta male. He'll just sit there and take anything. But a man who knows who he is, a single man who knows who he is, he's not taking garbage. He's not taking leftovers. He's not settling for less. No, he's going to try to achieve excellence and try to go for the very best. Thank you, Michael Gray, for the super chat. Really glad for you to give me the super sticker. Really appreciate it. Really glad that everybody's here and, and 59 in the room. But I wanted to continue to elaborate on the whole thing because the viewer gave me that he wanted to know, why is society obsessed with single men? And I wanted to give him an in-depth discussion in the video that I made before, but I wanted to go a bit more in depth in this live stream. So, I mean, this is why people hate single men like myself. I mean, I've been a single man for over 25 years. And I remember being a teenager, people trying to force me to have a girlfriend. And again, I had something I wanted to achieve. I wanted to write comics. I wanted to write books. That's what I wanted to do. And that was the goal I had. And I said, if in order for me to be able to have the time to achieve those goals, I couldn't be in a relationship because, again, women want things you're obligated to give them things. And if you have a family, you're obligated to them. So you're not going to be able to go for your goals like you want. So that was one of the reasons why I stayed single for some time, in addition to I thought a woman wouldn't understand about my brain aneurysm and stuff like that. But the whole main reason was that I wanted to do things as related to the goals I had in mind. And that's one of the reasons why I write so many books, is because I had goals I wanted to do. And I thought, yeah, if you go out here and get a girlfriend, you get and then and then you wind up, she's going to want to either move this relationship forward, but I'm not moving forward on the goals I want to achieve. And I wanted to focus on those goals at first. And again, this is what single men want to do. You want to get on your purpose, get on the goals you want to achieve, get on the goals that you want to finish. I mean, single men, they like when you're young, you're like, this is the prime of your, as related to your physical health. This is the prime as related to your intelligence. I mean, you want to get out there and do things and accomplish things. And again, society really doesn't want to see single men accomplish, because they don't want to compete with the single man. But society's obsession with single men, again, it goes two ways. You have people who want to see the single man achieve and accomplish because they want to find husbands. They want to see things grow. But then you've got a side of people like these boomers and a lot of these feminists and a lot of these simps. They don't want to see a single man go out here and achieve, because he'll have that base that will make him appear stronger, and he'll be able to do things on his terms. And those terms make it where they have to, again, I'm going to repeat it, compete against a man. And again, beta males and simps hate male competition. They hate males who can lead, because those males will be able to get the women they want. And they'll be able to get the women they want, because they will be in a position where the women want to follow them because they're leading. And these guys, because they can't lead, basically want to neutralize their competition. Same thing with feminists who want to maintain their power base at these jobs. They want to be able to maintain their power base, because these women cannot compete in the social marketplace. I talk about this in depth in my book, The Woman Crisis. A lot of feminists can't compete in the job market, so they want to eliminate the single man, because the single man can compete in the workplace. He can work longer hours. He can work on more complex projects. This is why they want to eliminate the single man. And again, they have an obsession with single men and keeping them out of the job market. This is why they erected the HR brick wall. They want to keep those single men from coming into the job market, because those single men, again, can basically trounce them as related to competition. And that's the thing that they don't want. They don't want to see that man come in there and basically wind up taking over and running things, because that man can, again, he can work differently. He can take risks. And again, if he's a single man, he can go and take on projects and assignments she can't. I mean, that's a whole hard fact as related to business. And again, this is something they don't want to talk about as related to the single man, who, if he gets a call, he can just get up and go. Whereas the woman, even if she's a single feminist, has to go out here and try to get everything together as related to logistics. They're obsessed with keeping the single man out of the job market, because the single man, again, is a direct competitor to them. And as he's on the marketplace and he's achieving what he is building his reputation. And that makes him appear more attractive to other women and makes it where he's a possible candidate for getting women who want to follow his lead to have a relationship with. So the single man is, again, one of the most powerful people in the world, but mainstream media won't ever push that. I mean, the mainstream media will have you focus on the single, successful, educated woman and tell her that she's the strongest, but she's not strong at all. Because if you look at shows like Sex and the City, she's the one following the man, chasing a Mr. Simp. And the whole thing is that we don't see the man being powerful, but single men, again, they have a lot of power, and the whole thing is that if they become aware of their power, that's what society doesn't want them to see, is their power. They don't want you to see the power of the single man, because the power of the single man comes from him having, one, his freedom, two, his intangibles of manhood, like his dignity and his self-respect, and three, a single man having the ability to become aware of his ability to have options. These are the things that make a single man, again, one of the most powerful people in society. And if he's got the guidance and leadership of God, he is even more powerful, because if the Most High is leading that man and giving him instruction and direction, that man can go out here and achieve great things. Again, the single man is in that place. And again, this is why society is obsessed with the single man and obsessed with suppressing the single man, destroying the single man, and preventing the single man from being all he can be, because the single man, again, is one of the most powerful people in all of this world. Now, want to thank everybody for coming out to tonight's stream. But before I go, I want everybody to put in a pre-order for the SJS Direct 2024 books that are coming out. Isis Dark Incubus, which is coming out on April 26th. I mean, this is the book where the goddess next door is enthralled in an entanglement with an evil incubus, and we get a look at Isis's love life in this start of the third story arc. And you can pick up this book on Amazon.com for pre-order right now on Kindle and other online booksellers like Drafted Digital and Google Play. And the paperback version will be available on April 26th. And the other book in the SJS Direct 2024 catalog, Esteemed Horror in the Hamptons, you can put in the pre-order for this book. And this book, which features the aspiring angel as she tries to escape a house of horrors, this book will be available on May 24th. And will be available in paperback, Kindle format, and digital format. And you can put in your pre-order at Google Play, Amazon, and other online booksellers like Drafted Digital, Smashwords, and the iBookstore. And the third book in the SJS Direct 2024 catalog that's available right now, John Haynes' Illuminati. This book is right now available in paperback on Amazon.com. And you can also find it in other online booksellers like Google Play, Smashwords, the iBookstore, Drafted Digital, Barnes & Noble, and other online booksellers. And these are the three books of the SJS Direct 2024 catalog. And I'm also offering up a refresh version of the first Isis series book, Isis Amari's Revenge. You can find Isis Amari's Revenge on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. And this is the book that I started in 2012 to launch the Isis series. And all four of these books are just part of the SJS Direct catalog that I worked on as a single man. I mean, I wouldn't have been able to do all of this without God and being in a place where I didn't have a whole lot of things to tie me down, like a wife or kids right now. I mean, if I had those things, I wouldn't be able to have the time to write. And again, this is why society doesn't like single men, because even without a job, I still was focused on purpose. Again, they don't like single men because we can work on things like my comic, John Haynes at Death's Door. I mean, single men can go out here and work on things towards their goals. And that's what single men can do when they're on their purpose, especially when they're young. Now, you can get John Haynes at Death's Door on Lulu.com right now by clicking the link in the description box. And I wouldn't be able to go out here and make the YouTube videos either. I mean, as a single man, I would be, again, I can do that all the time. And again, the whole thing is that when you have obligations and you're tied down, you can't really work on the goals that you want. And that's something society doesn't like about single men. We can go out here and work on our dreams and our goals, like the books that I've written. I mean, this is what they don't like about single men, because people want to tie you down, and then others get jealous of you and they don't want to see you have success. But if you persevere, you can have all of that success. I mean, thank you, Soul Sheet Eater, aka Soul Octavius. He says, thank you for the super chat. He says, you spoke nothing but facts. It was his favorite, one of his favorite streams. I'm happy to hear that. But I really wanted to do this stream because people asked for it. But I wanted people to understand why single men are important in society and why everybody's obsessed with them. Because single men are the foundation of life. I mean, they are, God made the man first. He made the man the head. And a man was single before he was put with a wife. So society needs the single man. And again, you have those who don't like single men, but you wouldn't have any of the innovations and creations if it really wasn't for single men going out here and being on their purpose and going out here and building. So I want to thank everybody for coming out to tonight's stream, and I'm hoping you guys drop a donation to the Cash App. I mean, that helps me to stay on the air. And I'm hoping that you guys pick up some of the books in the SJS Direct 2024 catalog, because I got a lot of great books on there, including my men's issues, books like the Simp series and the Man Crisis and the Woman Crisis, and why 70% of Black women are single. Just a lot of great stuff that I have on the SJS Direct imprint. And you can learn from the books just like you learn from the live streams. And you can learn more in depth because a lot of the live streams come from the books. So I want to thank everybody for coming out to tonight's stream. I hope you'll be there for next week's stream. Everybody have a good evening. Yeah, one full boss. I'm glad to see you here. Everybody have a good evening, and everybody have a good night.